All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Golden Note podcast. My name is Jesse,
And my name is Karan Deep.
and we're here to bring you through the 1001 albums to listen to before you die. And this album that we're going to talk about is called Nevermind the Bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols by the one and only Sex Pistols.
What a statement.
What a statement. Right off the bat, what an album name, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get to the album name in a second. Let's talk about some background. So, this is a punk rock band, one of the disputed first ever punk rock bands to make it onto the scene and like kind of invent the genre or craft it into what it officially became. There are some proto-punk bands before this, like Iggy Pop, and like even the people say the Kinks and the Who were like kind of proto-punk, but with the arrival of the Sex Pistols and the Ramones, those two bands were kind of like seen as the first official, fully formed punk bands. And so there's a dispute where was it born in England with the Sex Pistols or was it born with the Ramones in New York? And there's still a dispute. I think officially the Ramones released their album first, but the Pistols were already writing songs and playing live before that album was released. So there's a lot of dispute. There's a lot of like, even the New York Dolls is another punk band that people are like, maybe they're the first, whatever. We'll talk about them a little bit in this album. But the main one is the Sex Pistols that we're talking about today and the release of this album. So 1977 is when this album came out.
Wow. 77, eh?
1977.
Yeah.
So England in 1977, there's a lot of problems going on. There's a lot of labor disputes, unions on strike, garbage everywhere in the streets, apparently. Just kind of a bit of a crumbling society in Britain at the time.
Kind of sounds like Toronto.
Kind of sounds like where we are a little bit in general. But that's kind of like the mind frame of Johnny Rotten, who's the lead singer of the Sex Pistols, and when he's writing these lyrics. He came from a very poor background in somewhere outside of London, I think. Fact check me on that. Somewhere in England, in London area. He was born to a very pretty impoverished family, and so this is kind of like his perspective and kind of his background and where he's coming from when he's writing a lot of these lyrics and how he thinks about society. What else was going to say? Musically, 1977, disco runs everything. Disco, and if you're into rock music, it's Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, right?
Wow.
Those are like the two dominating forces in pop music. So when the Pistols came out, and glam rock, I guess, like Sweet is like a glam rock band that I'm familiar with. Just like a lot of glam rock, David Bowie, glam rock stuff. Those are like the three big things. Lots of heavy guitar solos in Pink Floyd's stuff, 8-minute songs, Stairway to Heaven, and then you got disco with like ABBA and who are those guys with the really high voices? The Bee Gees.
Bee Gees, yes.
Right? The Sex Pistols burst on the scene basically with this album saying, F all that. We hate disco. We hate long-haired prog rock stuff. They hate my kind. And they even had a beef with the Ramones. For one, they didn't like that they were being called the first punk band. And number two, they had long hair. And Sex Pistols were like, long hair, these losers. We got short hair because we're different and we're sick. So that's literally, they were like, we don't want anyone in the band with long hair.
Times were simpler.
Times were simpler. Maybe, yeah. Back then, I would say, yeah. Well, let's go with that one. So 1977, there's a lot of angst in this album.
Oh, lots.
Yeah.
I could feel it in my eardrums listening to this record.
Yeah, lots of angst. But in 1977, there wasn't a lot of angst to go around. This was like the first angst.
You heard it here, folks.
Quote me.
This was the first angst.
Put it on the screen. The first angst.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that.
Like, could you imagine? Okay, well, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just get started. So we'll start with album cover, as we always do. What do we think of the album cover? I think it's pretty nice.
It's loud.
It's iconic, first of all. Yeah, it's
It
loud.
feels like it lends itself to a perfect poster on the street.
Yes, facts, 100%.
Yeah.
The yellow and the pink contrasts with each other very nicely. I really like it. Fun fact: Nevermind, the Bollocks, but the Nevermind, that word, that inspired the classic Nevermind album by Nirvana.
Oh, interesting that you wear this shirt.
Interesting, very interesting coincidence.
Yes.
So obviously, like Kurt Cobain and all the '90s angst was heavily inspired by the late '70s angst of the Sex Pistols.
I can see that. That makes a little bit of sense. Yeah.
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 Album name, gotta love it. Very provocative, right?
Yeah. But it makes you wonder, especially after listening to this album, is the album the Bollocks or is it not?
Wow. We already know where Karen's going with this, or how he feels about this album, apparently. Yeah, there's a story about the album name, and I'm blanking on it now. But basically, it's saying, never mind all this garbage trash. Here's this bit us when we're sick.
Okay.
We're not Bollocks. We're the Sex Pistols.
That's a bold statement.
It's a bold statement.
Especially after some records and bands that you just mentioned, like Pink Floyd.
Yeah, right.
You know, if
Yeah.
they said that to their face, I wonder what would happen.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another fun story I read researching this. The band was already a thing before they got Johnny Rotten, who's the lead singer. I think his real name is John Lydon or something, but he got the name Johnny Rotten because of his rotten teeth and because of his personality, I guess. But they were looking for a lead singer, and they wanted someone who was like different, unique, kind of fit their vibe. And they saw this guy, Johnny Rotten, who came to be Johnny Rotten, walking on the street with a Pink Floyd shirt, but he wrote on it, it was like Pink Floyd, and he said, "I hate Pink Floyd."
Dang.
And it had like safety pins in the shirt and rips and stuff. And he like customized this Pink Floyd shirt.
That's
to say, "I
crazy.
hate Pink Floyd."
Can you imagine anybody doing that now? Like,
No.
people aren't passionate enough about the music that they listen to make a statement like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's just in general, but that is punk.
Yeah.
That's real punk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, these guys are real. Like yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, yeah. He also gives me pick me vibes though. Like when I was like reading a lot of the stuff, I was like, this dude was just a pick me in 1977. He was just being controversial to be controversial, you know?
Yeah, I got some takes about that later on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to be fair, in 1977, to walk around with an I hate Pink Floyd t-shirt, that took some, you know, some guts.
Some serious bollocks.
Yes, some serious bollocks, yeah. Because at the time, Pink Floyd was God, right? So, anyways,
And I would argue still today.
even still today, they're gods for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that we've talked about that and kind of the background and everything, let's talk about the songs. Starts off with "Holidays in the Sun" with some iconic marching in the intro. And then it gets into some victorious guitar. And right off the bat, I just love the chaos of Johnny's voice. And you get a sense of the charisma kind of pouring out of the vocalist here.
I felt like I could smell his breath.
That's amazing. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I could feel like I could smell it. But this song, it definitely is. It struck anthemic vibes to me. It really was kind of like that whole anthemic stuff, and the quirkiness of it reminded me of David Byrne from Talking Heads.
Ooh.
I got there's real quirky vibes, funky, whatever quirky and adjacent words to describe it. That's what I was feeling.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember. This is the one where he talks about the Berlin Wall, I think.
I don't remember.
I think so. I think this is the one where he talks about the Berlin Wall. Could you pull up the lyrics, maybe?
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
So right off the bat, we're also getting political in 1977, and we're getting political in a very direct way. If I'm correct in that this song talks about he talks about the Berlin Wall and jumping over it and stuff. Yeah. So and this is a point where
Yeah, that's the one.
this is the one. Okay. Yeah, he's talking about communism, but he's very much like he's taking the side of like, I can't imagine what it would be like to be on the other side of the Berlin Wall and like Russia owned Berlin kind of thing.
Recently I went to Montreal, and there's a piece of the Berlin Wall as an art installation
Cool.
in this place near the old Montreal place, and I was sitting there having my croissant, just enjoying my time, and I thought about that, and it was like hearing this in this song and that feeling. It kind of thought me about that experience. It felt so harrowing, just sitting next to the Berlin Wall, like a piece of the Berlin Wall. So the impact of that is huge, and the imagery was really clear because I had experience looking at that and having my croissant right next to it.
That's so funny. That's cool. And so, and when you think about it, it wasn't really that long ago.
No,
right?
My father had to smuggle himself through it to get here, and
really,
he's still kicking. Yeah,
that's wild. So he had to smuggle himself through the Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
What? That's wild, dude.
Yeah, he went on an adventure.
Feat. That's a feat. That you could get shot for if you got caught doing that. So
some of his partners did. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I have to talk to you more about that's wild. What? Okay, so you have some very relevant, real family experience with
some connection to it.
Some connection to it. Okay. Okay. So right off the bat, we're getting political, and this is one thing that separates the Pistols from the Ramones, because the Ramones, right up, like they're always about like love and girls and like blitzkrieg bop, like they're kind of just like having a good time, very energetic and raw but fun and not political. The Sex Pistols, right off the bat, they had a lot of political ideas, and that's a huge thing in punk is politics. But then you have the pop punk, which is very about
girls,
about relationships and having fun in the sun and skateboarding, right? Yeah. So it's really cool how at the genesis of the genre, the two bands that enter kind of set the stage for both streams of punk as they continue on.
Yeah.
Like right off the bat. I think it's really cool. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, were you going to say something?
I just said that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's similar to Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin with metal. Like Black Sabbath represented like the dark side of heavy metal and like the evil spirits and like, I don't know, all that stuff. And then Led Zeppelin was like the cool side of heavy metal, which then went into like glam metal from that. Unfortunately. Okay, so if Berlin Wall and communism wasn't enough to start the album, we go to the next song, Bodies, which is about abortion. So 1977, remember, this came out.
These are like this album's full of hot takes.
Yeah, this is literally the hot takes album. This is literally, but it's interesting because hot takes, but at the same time, at least in these two songs, Johnny Rotten is not really taking a firm stance on either side. Like even in Bodies, researching this song, he says he's kind of talking about like both the one side where it's like, oh my gosh, abortion is so wrong and horrendous. But then on the other side, like he's trying to think of the perspective of someone who might be needing to get an abortion. Right. And he's just like, he's channeling the feelings of both sides about abortion. And it's just like, it's interesting because you listen to it and you think, oh, this guy has very strong opinions about one or the other. But when you dig into it, he's like, and you like research what he says about them, he's like, no, I was just kind of like channeling the feelings from everyone's perspective on this song. So I thought that was really interesting reading about that. The song itself, menacing intro. And I got the sense that Johnny's really just trying to get a reaction.
Yeah. It seems like that's his character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially at the end when he's going, F this and F that. In 2025, that's super cringe. But in 1977, to say that on record and for it to be such a public album that this became, it's crazy.
Yeah. I can imagine that for sure. Yeah. My take on this one was there's a lot of gibberish, a lot of yapping. Things like, I'm not an animal. I'm not an animal. It gave me sloppy.
Lyrical genius.
poet. It gave me sloppy drunk vibes. And, and I feel like if I was wasted, I would really resonate with this record. Maybe I'll even sing along and hit those melodies just the way he did. Another note, there's some guitar stuff that reminds me of Big Red Gun by Billy Talent, which is a more recent song from theirs. So the punk influence in this whole record reminds me of some things Billy Talent has done. And it makes sense because they were more of a punk startup, and now they have their own kind of sound going on.
Yeah.
But I can see where their influence came from to some degree from hearing this album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This album, was so influential. So any band that has any tie to punk music, some of that DNA inevitably comes from this album for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm getting a vibe for how you feel about this. We'll see at the end, folks, what he gives a rating for, or what his rating is. No Feeling is the next song. Very pop punky intro is what I got from this. Lots of pure energy coming off this track. I think it's about a psychopath who just has no feeling. And I love the last vocal part that ends the song. So definitely stick around for the whole song when you listen to it. What was your take? Probably hated it.
Mid.
Big mid. Okay.
Yeah. This was just a mid
Just
song
mid.
for me.
That's kind of how I felt about Liar. I didn't really have a lot of notes for this other than I just kind of liked the low pitch, you're a liar at the end of each chorus. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah. A little attitude with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And attitude is like just in full abundance.
Yes. Full abundance.
Overabundance on this album, maybe to
Potent.
some degree. Yeah.
I just got some more Billy Talent vibes from this song. I think some of the guitar work reminds me a lot of their early stuff. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. And so in a good way, you're liking it?
We'll
Silver
see.
lining? Okay. Okay, well, the next track, if you don't like it, might have to fight you. Not actually, folks. God Save the Queen. Classic song. This is one of the first songs I listened to by the Pistols when I was younger. Pure energy in this track. Like what can I say? Like in Britain, a song called "God Save the Queen" and with all of its pure sarcasm and like him going against the monarchy in such a viral for 1977 song, just would have been crazy.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. Like they were getting protested. People who worked at the factories who were like processing the vinyl were protesting, saying,
Wow.
I'm not pressing this vinyl because I disagree with the takes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Thank God for the digital age.
Yeah. Thank goodness it still got, released and
Yeah, listening to this album, I didn't have that context. I just listened to it as a punk record, and I didn't know. I didn't bother looking it up. I knew you were going to come in with the historical details.
Yeah.
But putting it into that perspective, I can definitely understand kind of the impact of this and what they're doing on this record. But musically, I just really like the call and response parts.
Oh yeah.
It was enjoyable, kind of catchy.
No future. That part at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was cool.
Everything about this song for me is like this belongs in a museum. This song, like this is like a pure masterpiece.
Yes.
It's perfect. Like, we mean it, man. Like, it's just so funny and so cool. I don't know. I just love it. It must have been a nightmare for older people in Britain.
Oh yes.
Who liked the Queen. And
Even today,
listen to classical music.
If
and
we
then
share this with an older folk now, they'll probably get the same like, "What is this young people music?"
Yeah. This song is just such a gem in this album. It's amazing. I have nothing bad to say about it. The outro, as we were saying, slaps. The call and response.
Yeah.
No future for you. England's dreaming. Like very political, right? Like we're like this country is screwed. The monarchy sucks. We're dreaming. Like what are we thinking here, folks? Because this is
That's like
right now we're in
revolutionary.
garbage. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say one more thing. Yeah, it's just like Johnny Rotten really shines in this song, and I have nothing bad to say about it. It's just it's really great. Oh, here's what I was gonna say. Johnny Rotten looking for a reaction is kind of his whole personality because apparently in the 90s in an interview he was like, I actually like the monarchy. I actually respect the monarchy. It's like, dude, you wrote "God Save the Queen." Like, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah, pretty fun song, eh?
What do they call it? A shit starter?
Yeah, he's a bit of a rage baiter, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, he wrote such a good song. It's going back to like playing both sides, right? He sees both sides, maybe, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And he just likes getting a reaction, you know?
That's very interesting. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's move on to Problems is the next one. What'd you think of this one?
It was all right. It
Yeah.
doesn't stand out to me.
No?
Yeah.
I like the guitar work. I think it sounds really mean and just like edgy. Great solo. A lot of 50s inspired solos from
There
the
was
guitar
a few
player.
of those in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of felt out of place at times.
Yeah?
But I did enjoy it. though.
Okay, I like it a lot. I think it worked, but that's about it. I didn't have too much to say about Problems. 17. This was the one semi miss for me, where I was like, it's creative. Like at least it's kind of creative. It's a little cringe, funny at parts, but this is kind of where the edginess of Johnny Rotten starts wearing on me a bit. I'm like, come on, man, like. Relax a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Especially at this point in the album, you're listening through it like, wow, these are all hot takes. And then it's like, got anything else?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get to Anarchy in the UK. Again, a
Classic.
gem in this one.
Amazing.
I forgot to ask you, what was your familiarity with this band and album before listening to it for this?
I think I knew a couple of their songs. I couldn't tell you which ones I knew. I knew that they're very much full of attitude, but I did not really know the sound too well. I never listened to a whole album from them. I think the most I listened to was actually just on the car ride with you. So
Oh, okay.
there's a couple of tracks you played.
Oh, I did play it. Okay.
Yeah.
One time when Full Deck was going to, where was it? Ottawa?
I think so.
Okay.
I got
yeah.
a whole history lesson about punk rock music, and I still haven't finished the lecture. So
Yeah, I'm still here yapping.
that's why I'm here.
That's why we're here. Yeah, exactly. So I can yap more. Okay. Yeah. Anarchy in the UK. Right up there with God Save the Queen. Another terrifying song for anyone who likes the monarchy in Britain, which is most people. Most people, unless you're a punk, generally has good feelings about. I mean, I don't know. There's some people who have their criticisms, but like Anarchy in the UK is wild. And just in general, just like, hey, like, I'm an he starts off, I am an anarch. I think it's anarchist first, and then he says antichrist. I am an antichrist. I am an anarchist. In his like strong British accent. I love it.
Yeah.
And he's just so, once again, he's so charismatic. Like there's nothing but personality. Maybe only personality in
At
his
times,
vocals
it
at
definitely
times.
feels
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about like vocal chops, but personality is just overflowing and it makes up for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think contrasting the monarchy to punk and what I imagine punk to be in Britain at the time makes a lot of sense now that
Yeah.
you kind of lay it out. Because you got the monarchy, so prim and proper, huge tradition, kind of like you can't say this, you can't walk a certain way.
Yeah.
And then you get this guy walking down the street and you're like, how do you add those two together?
Yeah.
You don't. Like there
Yeah.
are opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And I think that what he's doing is community service,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Kind of voicing that rejection of whatever the monarchy stands for or those norms. And it's nice to hear it being presented so authentically
Yeah.
and so loudly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a reflection of the times, and for working class people who were not well off, they would feel like this, and that is exactly where Johnny Rotten's coming from.
Yeah.
From his background. So yeah, nothing but great things to say about that song. Classic. Another museum song that belongs, it's just framed in a museum, just like so great. Submission is the next one. Some interesting instrumentation on this one. I think it was the most dynamic song instrumentally, using sound effects at the beginning, electronic sounds. It adds nicely to the song. I love the cough at the end of the song, which is like just once again the personality coming off of Johnny Rotten. So I liked it. I thought it was pretty good.
This one got real boring for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was a nice departure from what you've been hearing thus far, but I definitely got quite bored of it near the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, wasn't my favorite, but wasn't bad in my opinion.
Yeah.
Next one is Pretty Vacant. This one is probably one of their third or fourth most famous song off the album. Iconic intro, so much energy. I did know this song before listening to this album. This song, Anarchy in the UK, and God Save the Queen were like the ones I knew the most. At the end, I think there's a lyric he says in the song where he's like, "And we don't care." And I'm just like, yeah, I know, Johnny.
Yeah.
This once again, it starts wearing off a little bit for me, like the edginess. It's like, we get it, we got it.
To me, this track was my favorite off the record.
Okay, cool.
If we're thinking politically, to me, this sums up the youthful left of today.
Oh, okay.
They are pretty vacant.
Oh.
Ooh. Yeah.
Politics, folks. Yeah.
That it's just the whole character of the song. I think it encapsulates that whole mentality and sort of that group of people that seem to practice what he's describing in that song very well. And I just couldn't help but think like, wow, this is the woke left.
This is a woke left
in a
yeah.
song.
He's dissing me, folks. I'm not woke left, but we're a diverse political podcast here.
And we can get
We
along.
represent both sides. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Other than that, the group shout vocals in the hook was very nice.
Okay.
I really like that.
So you like the song? You said this is your favorite song?
I do like this song.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Well, it's one of the most popular songs on the album, so I'm glad that one of them stuck out for you. He's gonna give this album a 1. I know it.
No.
1 out of 5. We'll see. Well, I don't want to count my chickens before they or no, that's not the proper. I don't want to make any assumptions. So
Wait, I'm curious about this chicken analogy. What?
It didn't make sense at all.
Oh.
Let's just skip over it. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's not talk about it. New York is the next song. It's the second last song. This is a diss song.
Really?
Yeah.
Who is he dissing?
He's dissing the New York Dolls, which is a punk rock band coming out of New York.
Dang.
They were kind of around for the glam rock scene and then were very punky as well. So they're like also considered one of the first punk bands, but once again, like long-haired rockers who had an appreciation for glam rock, and Johnny Rotten didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking to the press as well, being like, this is what you call punk rock band. I heavily disagree. Mm-hmm. They suck. So this was like very much like a diss song against that band. So pretty cool seeing that. It's like, hey, diss tracks before rap music and their diss tracks, like it was a thing in rock, right?
He was the first thing.
Yeah. I also thought the intro was pretty cool, but like I don't know. Other than that, I wasn't like the biggest fan of this song. I just thought it was interesting from like a historical perspective. Like, not only are the Pistols being very political and loud and in your face about like society in Britain, but they're also like dissing other bands in the punk scene on the across the pond,
Coming out swinging,
and that's they literally, their bass player Sid Vicious. Have you ever heard of Sid Vicious? Yeah. He would always get in fights all the time, like belligerent fights. Like the band at a certain point was like, dude, relax, stop. Sid Vicious. This episode will go on for another hour if we talk about him, so we won't. There's just so much drama around this band.
They definitely are authentic human beings. They preach what they they preach what they practice, I guess.
Yeah. They leave it all out there for everyone.
This song, I wrote down that it would be fun if I was drunk, very similar to many other songs.
Okay.
But this one in particular, because there's a certain line he says. It says, keep your mouth shut. But I would appreciate some articulation in that. I don't think he said one like consonant or one like clear articulation in the whole line. It was like one giant slur. And I'm like, what did you say? Oh, keep your mouth shut. I'm like, your mouth's half shut when you're singing that.
Oh,
it's like
him.
How is this English at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely could work on his articulation on many points on this album. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Johnny-
this one in particular stood out to me for
yeah.
that.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I would agree with you. I think as well. And then the last track, EMI. For me, this was my favorite listen for my first time going through this album, and I'm a big fan of the song now.
Wow.
This is probably like a top 3 Pistol song for me.
I'll have to revisit it because
Like-
I did not understand this track at all.
No,
It did not hit.
I love the chorus. It's very simple, just EMI, EMI. Like, I don't know. It's like punk rock bliss listening to this song. I've never heard it before, and I was like, this is so cool.
You know, whatever that is, I've never understood that.
What?
Whatever that vibe is, like singing that chorus. If I was in a room and that band was playing and everyone's grooving along to
Yeah.
EMI, I'd be like,
It's just pure angst, bro.
it's weird to me.
Okay, well, the context is EMI is the label. And
yeah.
EMI was their first label, and they got dropped after 3 months being on the label because of their attitude. And so then they made a diss track to EMI, the label. So he's like singing in the chorus, EMI mocking them, being like,
okay.
EMI, we hate you, kind of thing. Just like,
Maybe with the context,
can appreciate it
I can
more?
appreciate a little bit more.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I just loved it. I thought it was so funny, so cool. Like, just like sticking it to everybody. This album is sticking it to everybody. The labels, other bands they hate,
The Queen.
the Queen, everyone. Just like a big middle finger, and I'm so here for it. I think it's awesome. And it just ends this classic album with a mouth fart noise. at the
Amazing.
end. Did you catch that?
I did not.
He just goes. End of the album.
I love it.
Amazing.
It's like if you
Chef's
had
kiss.
a mischievous, menacing 5-year-old in a playground, put it in an album, or put it into a person who is now an adult, Johnny Rotten,
Yeah.
and then put it in an album, it's this.
Okay. Yeah. I have more respect for it than that, but
Fair.
But I can see where someone who's not as into punk music would see this as that for sure. Okay, let's end this album off. Let's talk about it as a full thing and give our scores. For me, loved this album. It is a quintessential punk rock album. It laid the foundation for punk in general, and especially the political side of punk. The band in and of itself is a stuff of legend. So much drama outside of their music surrounds them. This was their only album.
Really?
Their only album, because
Oh.
they broke up like a year after. I think they had one more song or single from Sid Vicious, but Johnny Rotten had already quit by that point. It was a cover of My Way by Frank Sinatra, and it's like a legendary cover of it. But yeah, this is their only album. This band was very much just like a shooting star or like a flare
Yes.
in the music industry. It was very bright, very loud, and very impactful, and then it was over. And so I love it. I think it's great. My score out of 5, we're going to combine our scores out of 5 to give an overall score out of 10. Mine is a 4.5 out of 5.
4.5.
4.5.
Wow.
The only thing is there were some times listening to this album, I got a little tired of the angst, and it felt like it was a bit much. But most of the time, I feel like they pull it off, and it's just yummy punk rock goodness for my soul.
Yummy punk rock goodness for my soul.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Amazing. I think going into this album kind of blind, just listening to it for what it is, and now hearing the context from you changes how I interpret what I listen to.
Okay.
So my score is a 4. I think this is the highest score yet.
This is the highest score yet. Let's go.
I think what made it so high is when you described it as museum songs, museum pieces. That really helps categorize what these songs are now and what they mean to me, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And I would agree. A lot of these songs are like museum pieces.
Yeah.
And the authenticity of these dudes making this record is undeniable. And for their efforts at the time, for their energy that they put into this record, we can still feel it today.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a huge accomplishment. So
Yeah.
give it a 4.
Amazing. The highest score ever
Yeah.
on our podcast so far. That's amazing. Okay. Well, we might have to do something special then for this now that because it hasn't now reached
Has it? Yeah.
the golden status.
What was the? Yeah, I think so. Was
Nine or above.
9 or
Yeah.
above? Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that. Wait.
No.
We can't do math.
Mental math. Calculators ruined us, folks.
Wait.
It's 8.5 out of 10.
8.5.
4.5, 8.5.
I want to give it a 9, 4.5.
Huh? There we go. All right. Awesome.
It makes that mark for me.
Revised score.
Revised 4.5.
Another
4.5.
first on the podcast.
Edit.
All right, so we might have
It's
to
a
do
9.
something special later to commemorate our very first star album, golden album for the
They've
Golden Note
earned it.
podcast. They've earned it. All right, folks, that's the Nevermind the Bollocks. Here's a Sex Pistols review on our
Album by the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
If you
So
haven't caught that yet.
please subscribe if you liked it. Give us a like, give us a comment, and let us know what you think about our review and the album in general. We'd love to hear.
Yeah.
And we'll see you for the next one.
Great. Peace out.
Peace.